One.
Hey, I'm Matt Hudgins, and he's Dave Mulvaney, and this is Profitability MD. Dave, how are you doing today, buddy?
Matt, things are great here in sunny Florida. How are things up in Atlanta, Georgia today?
Atlanta is great. Today is the first day of the Masters, and Masters always kind of is the initiation of spring for me, so all excited.
That it is. And somebody had a hole in one yesterday in the practice round.
Yeah, the little par three. Yeah, exactly right.
So
Exactly right. So it's good stuff.
it is good stuff.
It's funny, it's just the 3 times this week with 3 of my coaching clients, a commercial real estate insurance guy and a commercial HVAC supply guy. It's come up. And so I ended up writing this article and put it on LinkedIn, but it's the importance of follow-up, how to keep your business moving by following up with people, by following up with prospects, following up with leads, following up with existing clients, centers of influence, people that can send you money. So that's what I thought we might talk about today is the importance of follow-up in our system, right? So if we talk about the 5 ways, right, we talk about our 5 ways. We got to get more leads. We got to get more conversions. We got to get transactions, increased number of transactions, existing clients. We got to have profits, and we got to have pricing or bundling, and we got to have profits. So really follow-up is key to 3 of those elements, right? If we get a lead, we need to follow up. If we got a conversion, we need to follow up with those prospects to help convert. And then increased number of transactions with existing clients, that's all about follow-up and staying in touch. And getting referrals is all about follow-up and staying in touch with existing clients and with centers of influence. So follow-up is important in everybody's business.
I think it's beyond important. So I've got what I call the 4 R's of business.
Okay.
And you've probably seen me talk about it. The right message to the right audience at the right time will produce the right result. And the right result could be, they make a purchase from you, they make an additional purchase from you, etc. But so you got the right message, you got the right audience, but you have to get them at the right time. And the only way to get them at the right time, it has to be on their time. So that's why follow-up is absolutely critical. And if you know anything about the Colby A index, I'm a 2 on that, 2 out of 10 when it comes to follow-up. So I think this, this version of Profitability MD is going to be a lot about automating follow-up because anything that you can automate, automation is the key to scalability, and scalability is the key to freedom.
Right.
So,
it's automation. I think that's what I like your second thing. It's the key to freedom, right?
Yeah.
If you could automate, actually, I had this conversation with another coaching client of mine who's actually a business broker. So he sells businesses. And so most of his time is spent on vetting buyers. He says, you won't believe this, buyers come out of the woodwork. And it's so hard to tell and take so much time to vet the process. Is this a real buyer or is this a tire kicker? Right? And so that's right what I got into, automating that process. You know how easy it is to automate that process? We could make them jump through a couple hoops, including fill it out first of all, you got a non-disclosure agreement, an NDA, make them watch a video about the project or about the business itself, and then make them fill out a form, right? So They got to jump through all these forms before you even talk to them, because you'll know they're a qualified buyer by having your little questionnaire. And you could see the light go off in this guy's head. He was like, oh my God, that might save me like 20 hours a week.
And with those 20 hours, see, I think too much time in sales and coaching, where I literally just had this conversation with somebody today, a coaching client, who was, now a coaching client. They weren't prior to that call. But what I asked him is, I said, how much money do you want to make this year doing this thing? And, what do you want to take home? What are you looking to get? And she told me that number. Now, I will tell you this, if that number is under a certain amount, they're not in my target market. It's part of my screening process. Then I said, I need to know exactly what you're making right now. And then she told me. I said, so we're talking about a gap that is this big from, I mean, exactly. The gap was about $150,000 a year.
Right.
I said, so it's costing you $150,000 not to have someone help you with this. So I bring it back to what you're with your business broker is, look, if you're, let's just say the person you're talking to is making $250,000 a year and they're working 40 hours a week. I'll have to do the math on that, but $250,000 a year divided by 52 weeks, it's $4,800 a week divided by 40 hours. So they're making $120 an hour. So when you take $120 an hour times the 20 hours they're wasting on this non-automated follow-up, right, it's costing you $2,400 a week not to automate your follow-up. That's $125,000. So you're making $250,000 now. With those 20 hours, you should make another $125,000 a year. So now you're at $375,000. But the reality is, you'll probably double that. So you could easily double your income first year by automating many of the processes.
You're exactly right. All right. So I want to take it back here to the follow-up. And so some of the examples we were talking about would be a follow-up with a prospect. How do I follow up with a prospect? I met him at a networking event. I met him at a cocktail party. How do I automate the follow-up? Or what is the follow-up system? So I kind of walked him through. I did this article on LinkedIn. So you can find this article on LinkedIn on my LinkedIn site. And but it was interesting. And you and I do this kind of stuff all the time, but here was just an example, right? So I said, all right, here's like a checklist for a follow-up, right? So if you met somebody at a cocktail party, at a reception, wherever, here's kind of the checklist. I call it early bird gets the worm. You don't wait around for a week or a few days before you follow up, right? You follow up pretty much immediately. You be proactive. If you don't make the follow-up basically within 24 hours, it drops right off. Hey, great to see you at the party last night. Great to meet you, right?
One thing I like to do, and like when you want to talk about automating, let's say we're at a convention. Everybody's away from home except the person in that city, right? So we all go to something in Chicago. Something I used to do regularly was I would carry just a little, what do you call them? Greeting cards.
Right.
One, whatever. And when I'd go back to my hotel room, and I met like 5 or 6 people that I really wanted to have an ongoing relationship with. Literally, they were already stamped. I would put their right from the business card, name and email address, and a personal note. The personal note reminds of a connection that we made. That mental.
So you had those sitting in your hotel room when you're at a convention,
I literally mail it, and guess what? What's the first thing they see when they get back?
Yeah, a handwritten note from you.
Yeah, and so they think, "Wow, this guy." And when you do that, now I'm telling you, I'm bad at follow-up. That's why I learned to do things like that because
that is genius. Pre-written. Well, it's not pre-written. Kind of done, and all you have to do is
pre-stamp. So you got his business card. You're gonna spend 10 minutes in your hotel room. You're there. What are you gonna do? Watch TV? I mean,
it's just right before you go to bed or something. Yeah.
So
okay, that's genius.
You hand them the front desk, and they're in the mail tomorrow. And when that person gets home, they've got a thank you note.
I love it.
Yeah. So.
All right. That's a great one. So what I was saying was, okay, kind of a checklist. You want to be proactive. Don't ask them to marry you on the first date. You're just trying to get to know people. Preparation is key. This is where I think LinkedIn is a great way to get more knowledge. Obviously you had a conversation with that person, but you can go to LinkedIn and learn a lot more about them, where they went to college, where they've lived, what other jobs have they had. That helps build the bond when you talk with them. And then always next steps. What do they say? That the maybes will kill you. So as you get to know people, your goal is not to sell them the next time you meet them, talk with them, email with them, right? Your goal is to just move them to the next step, right? But the maybe doesn't help, right? Yes, I'm interested. Yes, I'd like to learn more. Yes, I'd like to take it to the next step. No, I don't want to, right? It's the maybes that kill you. It's somebody that you think is a prospect and you're keeping wasting time. You really want a yes or no of interest because the maybes will kill you, right?
Well, and that has to be, I believe, your automated. Okay, let's say we're talking about the business broker. So I'm trying to sell a business. Let's say it's $1 million business, $1 million company, and the owner's willing to finance but requires $350,000 down. Now, if I'm asking in a questionnaire, I'm going to say the minimum requirement to purchase a business is X dollars in liquid cash. What is your current position in liquid cash? And then they would answer, which is going to be a number 5 times what they actually have. Because they're not liquid, right? So
right.
Then the next question is going to be, what is the source of that cash? Is it, and so, I mean,
cash, stocks, or bonds, you got to sell something. Is it gold, bullions?
If somebody says that, I have $150,000 and you're trying to sell a $500,000 business, you can't put them in contact with that client. There should be no reason you go to the next step. Just like I said earlier, when I was talking to a potential coaching client, when I see the gap, okay, your gap is over $100,000. So if my fee, whatever that's going to be, is 25% of that or what have you, well, if the gap is too small, it ain't worth asking my fee.
Right. It doesn't add up.
And then you don't want to continue. I'm not saying continue a relationship, maybe an automated relationship.
Automated drip campaign. Exactly right. So this is a great example. So I actually put it down and kind of wrote out in this little article. Okay, here would be a great thing. So we could use the business broker. We could use the insurance agent as an example. We could use the HVAC guy who's looking for new deals. And so you meet a new prospect. You meet a guy who wants to sell his business or thinking about selling his business. How do you stay in touch with him? So I was like, look, email. You would say, let's go stick our little card in the mail because I was at a convention. My little thing says, all right, look, email the next day or even that night, recapping the conversation. That'd be number 1. Number 2, a phone call within 2 days. Then I do an email 2, send an article of interest from maybe what I call your article library. I think we should all have these little resources of articles that are of interest for certain people. So if you're selling insurance, I'm sure you got a lot of articles, or you should have an article library of mistakes to avoid or the importance of, right? If you're the business broker, you should have an article interest, mistakes to avoid when selling your business, things to consider when selling your business, ways to improve, to maximize the value of your business. If you're selling real estate, talk about that commercial real estate guy that I was talking about, right? So things to consider when looking for new real estate space. And this is commercial real estate.
All right, hang on a minute. We got to cover some of these, and I want to talk about each. Okay, email, easy to automate.
Yep.
I'm not going to teach, and I have people say, "Can you teach me how to do email automation?" I'm like, look. No,
an autoresponder. There's a million of them out there.
Just go find a company like GetResponse or Infusionsoft or something like that. Now let's move to that phone call.
Okay.
This is going to be our tip of the day. There's a service called Sly Broadcast.
I knew you were going to bring that up again.
Okay? All right. If you're not good, create a follow-up message. If you're not good at follow-up, and let's say you're back at your hotel. It's midnight. You schedule that call to go out at 5 a.m. to their cell phone, maybe 6 a.m. They're not at a time. It's early enough that they're not out of bed. So it's going to go straight to voicemail. That's what Sly Broadcast does. But you send that message. So you set it up the night before and boom, guess what? They're going to go, this guy called me at 5 a.m. I mean, this is good follow-up.
He's an early riser. And
you really didn't do it, but you automated it. And you can actually automate a series of phone calls, all sorts of things, go straight to voicemail. But, hey, Bob, sorry I missed you. Look, I wanted to tell you, I really enjoyed our conversation about, XYZ. I think you're right on track with whatever. And you leave a message. And, look, give me a call back when you got a moment. And what's Bob going to do? He's going to be like, this person's got great follow-up. And I'm telling you all this because I'm really bad at follow-up.
That's exactly right. That's what I'm saying. Like you can, so I was saying like email 1, phone call, email 2, maybe an article of interest.
Article of interest, again, automated, right?
Automated. That's right. Through automated, or you got, even if it's a drag and drop, right? Even if you got set articles that you send to people with a little intro. Hey, I thought you might find this interesting. Hey, Bill, I thought you might find this interesting, right? You could pre-write those emails with, you don't need a lot of articles. You need 3 articles, 5 articles. You don't need a lot. Another phone call, another email 3 which might even be non-business related is what I say. Send your prospect an article on a hobby or a common interest. Like this week, it's Masters Week. Hey, it's Masters Week. I don't know if you're a golf fan, but whatever. I'm really excited. Or there was, so-and-so had a hole in one yesterday. It could just be an email about their hobby, your hobby. Hey, read this article about golf or this article about hunting or fishing. I know you go fishing in the Florida Keys. You mentioned that during our conversations. So you can have that as email 3. Talk about a handwritten letter. Talk about email 4. So this is when we get into the drip email campaign that people have different opinions on this. So now we're kind of in that stage. They haven't really bought or done anything. And it's like those people that said no, but maybe later kind of stuff, right? Do you send them an article of interest once a month, once every 2 weeks, once a week?
I like to, so there's a series of, if you want to bond with somebody, it's got to be in your words, your message. And so I like to create a bond, and I like to do that through emails. And
okay.
So one of the things I like to do is number one is I understand my ideal client has similar beliefs to me. Okay, that's the ideal client for me. They have similar beliefs, not all the same. They're not a clone, similar beliefs. So I like to talk about my beliefs in an email probably once a month, but it leads them around to something else, because if they have similar beliefs, guess what? They're going to be more attracted to you because you're being real with them. The second thing, once you've established your beliefs, you want to, I like to write about, okay, what's a result they might be looking for? And I'm going to tell a story in a second email, maybe, so you can send one a week, but a story. Now, again, these are automated. A story in a second email that puts out a result that they might be looking for. A third email might contain a testimony of transformation, either for myself or a client. And again, telling a story. People like stories. You could tell a story to somebody, or you could give them a bunch of facts, and the story will be remembered 99 times over. One person will remember the facts. So there is those who receive my emails, they're either going to opt out on the belief part, because there's no doubt the things I believe when I start saying them.
Right.
There's a lot of people who opt out, and that's good, because they're not my ideal.
That's exactly right. We're not hurting anybody's feelings.
Yeah. The point is, the worst thing you can do is get the wrong client.
Right. I call that a nurturing sequence, right? You're trying to nurture the relationship along. And you're saying the 3 different types of emails are kind of my beliefs, which you probably should share, because if you're an ideal client of mine, you probably have similar beliefs. Number 2 would be what you said, a result they might want. Hey, trying to grow your business. Hey, you're trying to take more time off. Here's a story about that. And then 3rd might be a testimony of a transformation you made or a client made, which was, man, I got my stuff together, and then I was able to take Fridays off and spend time with my kids or family.
And the 4th would be an offer of some kind, Matt.
Okay. And the 4th is an offer.
And that offer might be, okay, let's use the Masters as an example. Hey, Steve, I'm going to be at the Masters. Are you going to be there? Because I'll meet you on so-and-so. That could be an offer. I mean, the point is, anything you're nurturing a relationship, sometimes the offer might be you have a product available to them and get them to opt into your, and sometimes the offer might be just flat out, hey, we talked about coaching, helping your business achieve $500,000 more in sales. I think I can help. I think I can help you do that. Whether you can do that or not, it's up to you. But I think I can help you do that. But here's what that's going to look like.
Right.
And
now here's the funny thing about this. Let's just call this a nurturing sequence, right? We're nurturing the relationship, trying to develop it along, and then we make the offer at the end, right? What is so funny is, so I have an email that I use to follow other email marketing campaigns, right? So it's like anytime they ask me for an email to sign up for their, free lead magnet, yep. I want to give them that email so I can actually see the emails, follow along with the pattern. It's funny where Frank Kern is one of the gurus I follow, and he does this same nurturing sequence about twice a year. So there's a particular product. He has this new thing where he sells XYZ, whatever it is, all his stuff. And it's the same 4 emails as last year. It's the same 4 emails as 6 months ago. Maybe he changes like one or two little notions. But what he's done is he's got one nurturing sequence that he uses twice a year to sell the exact same product.
And I think I know who wrote his
it's probably one of the other gurus. Maybe your copywriting guru.
He did years ago. He used to write for Frank Kern. I'm sure Frank has his own copywriters now, but yes.
But my point being is a lot of these things, talk about automation, right? You could create this nurturing campaign of 4 emails, but then use it 2, 3, 4 times a year. You could use those 3 or 4 articles of interest. You know that most business owners are looking at ways to maximize their value, sell their business quickly, increase the value of their business, take more time off. You could have that email pre-written and use those emails as your drip campaign for the next, 5, 6 months or weeks or however many emails you have, and then repeat the process again, right?
And you know why you can repeat the process? Because 80% of the people who got those emails didn't read it. Yeah. So they might read one the next time.
Right. That's it. So there's stats on that, which says, okay, the average person gets something like 400 emails a day. So even if you sent it to them, they might not have seen it because they got 400 other emails, so they lost it. So you could send them that same exact email a month later, 2 months later, and this time they see it. They didn't see it 3 times. You're like, oh my gosh, I don't want to send Dave the same email 3 times. Well, heck, he might have missed it. The other one was, when we used this before, like the golf lesson, right? Well, I wasn't hitting a slice 6 months ago, so I didn't pay attention to the slice email, right? I wasn't interested in XYZ, how to maximize the value of my business because I wasn't thinking of selling my business 6 months ago, right? So now I'm interested in it. And then, as you said, it could just be literally the timing's right? Right message, right time, right place.
Yeah.
So that's why people shouldn't feel bad. My point is, I've had people, actually with one of the guys that was in here earlier in the week that I coach, and it's the reluctance. Gosh, I don't want to be a bother. I don't want to send too many messages or too much follow-up and bother this guy or these people in general.
Well, I will speak for statistically some of the best marketing people on the planet, and this is where it becomes unbelievable. Once a month versus once a week versus once a day. The people who do the once a day sell exponentially, like 10 times more than the person who does once a month, and like 3 times more than the person who does once a week. And so, but I think that happens when your whole job is to sell. I'm never going to be the guy who emails you once a week. I mean, once a day. I just
right.
It might be like if you signed up to my automated web, if you signed up to a course class I have, I'm going to hit you probably. You're going to get an email from me probably 7 days straight.
Right.
But then once that course happens, you might get a few 3 days straight after it. But then it might be once a week for the next, literally, we've talked about it. I mean, it'll go on for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks. It's going to go on a long time. I have over a year, probably a year and 4 months of emails set up on a weekly basis. So I don't repeat one for a year and at least 4 months, but I write almost every day. So they keep going longer. I have somebody, I outsource all that. So.
Right. And I've got that too. So for my investment clients, I'm an investment advisor over there too. I've got a 52-week email sequence that I've already put in there. So when you're a new client, you get 52 emails. Boom, boom, boom. Whether your new client started January 1 or new client started April 4th, already in there. It's part of my client. I call it my client communication system. I built the same thing for my centers of influence. Those are accountants and lawyers and CPAs who send me referrals for coaching, right? There and there, I got those set up where there's an email that goes out once a month. There's a video that goes out once a month. Actually, video goes out twice a month, but it's already set up, right? Same kind of stuff. Automatically set up the follow-up. All right, so here was one of the stats. You're talking about stats, which I love this, was 80% of all sales require at least 5 follow-up calls after the first meeting. So that's even after you got the meeting. 80% of sales require 5 follow-up calls after the meeting. And then here's the stat. 44% give up after the first time. And I think it's like 92% give up after the 4th.
That's
So here's what we're telling you is that it's going to take about 5 follow-ups after you met with a guy, right? And 92% of people quit after 4.
so that reminds me of Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill. So he's sitting here with Andrew Carnegie, and Andrew Carnegie says, at that time, arguably the wealthiest man of the time, and Andrew says, "Okay, I've got this thought. I want somebody to. I believe that success is a skill. It is not a. It's not a trait you're born with. It's a skill, and I'll give you connections. I'll give you. I'll open the door for you, but." I want you to prove that it is a skill, and you're going to take on this responsibility. He didn't say you're going to. He said, I'm looking for somebody to take on this responsibility at their expense, and it's going to take time to create this. But I want it done to completion. And as the story goes, Napoleon Hill had to answer in 60 seconds because Carnegie was looking at his watch. And this is years ago. I read this. And Hill didn't know he was looking at his watch, but in 59 seconds, Hill agreed that he would take on the project. It took him 8 years to write Think and Grow Rich. And so the point is that how many people would have stopped after 5 years? They hadn't made any money from taking on a project. Well, that's exactly what you're talking about here is, how many people stop at 4 follow-up calls?
Right.
And I'm guilty. I'm going to say flat out, I'm guilty over and over again. But how many people stop after 4 follow-up calls? They're almost at the finish line and they give up.
Almost there. They're almost there.
And it's a human trait. And the only way to overcome some of that, I believe, we're in the best time that's ever been in terms of entrepreneurship, in terms of automation. Because if you're bad at follow-up, you do have to take the time and invest in yourself, but invest in the follow-up tools that'll make you better. And once you've done it, at least 4 of your follow-ups can be automated.
Right. Exactly right. That's
Sooner
exactly
or later, you got to open your mouth or pick up the phone. I mean, that has to happen. So
right. Eventually, that'll have to happen. And you're even saying your little sly broadcast could give you at least make one of those, be automatic. You're exactly right.
They won't even know it's not automatic.
They won't even know it. But that's the point. The importance of follow-up is it takes a lot of follow-up to get a sale, to get somebody to do business with you, to get somebody to know, like, and trust you. It takes follow-up to do that. I just put together like a little checklist. Here's 4 or 5 ways that I might do it. Email, phone call, email, phone call, and then a drip email sequence after that, right? You talked about automating your new client or your coaching clients. I talked about automating my client communication system. But the point is we have to follow up, and the advantage is we're in the best days where we can automate that stuff.
I will say, unless you have a really good direct response copywriter who's writing your materials, because what ends up happening is, or if you learn to do it, I'll promote Ray Edwards' book right on here. Copywriting is selling in print. And if you can really get all the triggers out that make your message so irresistible to and when I say your message, I'm talking about how you're going to make your prospect's life better and solve their problems. If you can do that in such a way that after they're done reading or listening your audio or your video, watching your video, if you can do that to where they come off that and go, dang, Matt knows what the heck he's talking about, and he really gets me. You've taken steps out of that follow-up. It doesn't mean you're still going to have follow-up, but you've taken steps and light years and moved that person into the trust category.
That's part of your right message. That's exactly the same. If you the right message, addressing the right audience at the right time, who's got the right problems, right? That you can solve.
So once Stephen Covey's speed of trust. If you can speed trust to where once they trust you, that's the point at which they'll buy from you. Doesn't mean they'll always buy from you, but they won't buy from you if they don't trust you. And so follow up with the right message is always going to establish trust. And it's also going to repel the ones that you really don't want anyway. And you do want to repel, because getting the wrong customer, I said earlier, is bad. bad
Yeah,
news.
that's exactly right. All right, man, that's pretty good. So this was called, well, the importance of follow-up. Keep your business moving by following up. We talked about why it's important, and it's really important in everybody's business. But thank goodness there are ways to automate that for people that aren't good at follow-up. And that's where you use virtual assistants, you use auto dialers, you use, we talked about auto responders. We talked about having a good copywriter. We had, what were your 4 R's again? The right message, the right
Message to the right audience at the right time, produce the right result.
Perfect. All right. That's good. All right. Where can we find you, Mr. Mulvaney?
Matt, you can find me at davidmulvaney.com. You can find me on LinkedIn under David Mulvaney. And where can we find you?
Yep. So 10xprofitblueprint.com is the coaching website. And then LinkedIn, Matt Hudgins. And that's where I actually wrote an article and put that on LinkedIn just, I think it was yesterday. So keep your business moving with follow-up. So that was.
And we'll promote that. All those web addresses will be in the under the video. And Matt, we'll look forward to talking to you next week.
Next week, my friend. We'll see you.
Take care.